This is going to be the new Thursday thing. I've never done a Thursday thing, and oh my god, why can't you be straight? Oh, be gay if you want to, I don't mean that. Right, okay. I don't actually think it's tilted, it just looks like it is because of the light. I hate it down here. Right, on with the show. I've never done a Thursday thing, and at the moment you're probably rather confused as to what I'm going to be doing on Thursdays. I'll tell you what I'll be doing on Thursdays. Fanfiction. I'm writing a fanfiction right now. It's a Kick the Sticks / Fire Sticks fanfiction, which is Chris Kendall, Crab Sticks, and PJ Leguire. I don't know how to pronounce his second name. / Kick for PJ. And them two. And Fire Sticks is Dan is not on fire, and Crab Sticks. Dan Howell, Chris Kendall. You're probably thinking, how's that work? How can you write fanfiction about both of those things? I'll tell you how, because in this, Chris Kendall is a big gay slut. I'm sure that's from something. Anyway, I'm going to read out some of this fanfiction, a chapter a week, and I'll post it on everything and give you a link to it down there, so you can go and like it, because you like me, hopefully. So, right. Chris remembered the first time he thought I'm going to read a chapter a week. Have I just said that? Chris remembered. It was the day they were filming the Foursome Twister video. Phil had lost a game of rock, paper, scissors with Dan and was out buying milk to make them all some tea. Dan was at the other side of the room, moving some of his stuff out of view of the camera and humming to himself so that they could film the video later. PJ was laid on his back on the floor, propped up by his elbows, and Chris was sat up at a 90-degree angle to PJ, his long legs entwined with PJ's equally as long legs. PJ was looking at their legs that were all crisscrossed and smiled hazily to himself. Chris was looking at PJ, wondering what he was thinking, and found himself smiling when PJ did. "What?" Chris asked, half laughing. "What?" Chris asked, half laughing. PJ looked up at Chris and grinned properly. "What?" he replied. "Why are you smiling?" Chris persisted. PJ just smiled more and slowly pulled his legs out from the knot they were in with Chris's. Chris hid his disappointment well. "Am I not allowed to smile?" PJ asked, sitting up and moving closer to Chris. Chris smiled. "No, I just wanted to know what made you smile." "I don't know why I'm making them talk like that," Chris said, still grinning like PJ. PJ laughed and brought his right leg up and over Chris's legs and sat on them so that he was directly facing Chris. He leaned forward and moved a piece of Chris's fringe into place. Chris's breath caught in his throat, and he laughed shakily, trying to ignore how PJ's face being this close to his own made him feel. Never mind PJ being sat on top of him as well. This was the closest Chris and PJ had ever been, putting aside the times when it was for show, for the fans, or as a joke. Putting aside the times when it was a show for the fans, or as a joke. This time it felt real. Chris could see something in PJ's eyes, or maybe it was his expression, definitely his actions, which told him PJ was being serious, that PJ felt something for him. I think you already know the answer to that. PJ's words brought Chris back from his thoughts. Chris realised PJ's hands were both picking at the top of Chris's jeans, rather close to something else that was stirring. And it didn't help that PJ was practically sat on it. PJ was no longer sorting Chris's hair, so there was no need for him to be this close. Chris stared into PJ's bright green eyes, and then glanced down at his lips. Their faces were now very close together. It occurred to Chris that PJ was slowly, but surely, moving his face closer and closer to Chris's. There was no hiding the blush spreading across Chris's face, or the other PJ-induced incident arising in his pants. "What?" Chris barely managed to utter. "Oh no. What?" Chris barely managed to utter. His breathing was heavier than he realised. The corner of PJ's mouth flicked up slightly before he moved his lips quicker than before towards Chris's. Chris couldn't believe this was happening, because PJ had never shown any signs before of the feelings Chris felt for PJ being mutual. The only person who knew about it was Dan, who had figured it out long ago. Chris's heart skipped a beat as the thought that this was some cruel joke devised by PJ and Dan crossed his mind. Then, right at the last second, Chris turned his head to look at Dan, A perplexed PJ looked dizzily around after his lips had suddenly met with the surprising texture of Chris's hair. Dan had been sat watching Chris and PJ, holding a conveniently placed cushion over his crotch, not crotched. He looked away in embarrassment. It just occurs to me how many times I just said crotch. He looked away in embarrassment when Chris looked at him and then ran out of the room, blushing furiously. End of first chapter. Thank you and goodbye. Wait 1 minute. Has it occurred to anyone who reads like Kick the Sticks or any fanfiction with PJ in it that you can't read a fanfiction with PJ in it without reading the line PJ's bright green eyes, or PJ's big green eyes, or something about PJ's green eyes? Has that not occurred to anyone? No? Okay, just me. First chapter of that fanfiction done. I've written 2.5 others, but save them for next Thursday or Thursday in about 12 months if I can't be bothered. Okay, bye!